Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More, and I just completed a huge cash out refinance on 6 of my properties. They're all commercial properties and a couple multifamily properties, and I was able to get $3.9 million in new loans, paid off $2.7 million in private money debt, and it was nice to get this done. Took some time. Actually used a brand new bank, and we'll talk about that some too, which was awesome because they were much easier to work with than some of the other banks I've worked with, and just a interesting process. But we had some major problems along the way too, like with the appraisals. It came in incredibly low, and I was able to get a lot of those raised up. Actually raised up over $1 million on all my properties. So I might have a few different videos that go over this whole process and what happened and things like the appraisals. So this is one property that we refinanced, and I'll talk about all of them here and show them. I bought this property for $450,000 a few years ago, but it's actually 2 parcels. What you're looking at now is a small brewery. It's on 1 parcel. The other building is 2 commercial units plus an unfinished basement unit. I wanted to make an apartment, but can't really do right now. That's a little bit frustrating. So I ended up refinancing the brewery 2 years ago for $150,000. I did that amount because no appraisal was needed with that particular bank. And then I just refinanced the other side with a $300,000 loan, and it appraised at $400,000. So I think the property's worth quite a bit more than that. The original appraisal was $300,000 for this property, which was insane. But like I said, we might go into more details on another video on that. But we did get it raised up $100,000. So I was able to pay off a private money loan, which means it's a loan from just people I know, really. There's quite a few investors who finance properties for me, friends and family, things like that. And that allows me to buy properties with 100% financing. So when I bought this property, I got a $450,000 loan, fixed it up a little bit, got tenants in there, raised the value through that manner, and then eventually the plan is to refinance the property. Well, that can be easier said than done, because when interest rates go up significantly, that can make it tougher. Sometimes when you're an investor like myself with lots of flips and lots of properties and lots of businesses going on, my debt to income ratios can look pretty awful to banks, and a lot of banks don't want to lend to me. So it was nice to find this bank. It was more of a DSCR lender than an actual, regular bank, even though they're a local bank to Northern Colorado. So they were awesome to work with, and we'll talk about them as well. But this is the basement apartment here that I was hoping to finish and add even more value. But it turns out the zoning in this particular town allows you to have a residential apartment on the second floor of a building, but not in the basement. So I don't think we can put a residential apartment here unless the new Colorado zoning laws that they just passed would allow you to do that. And those laws are saying you can't have restrictions on how many people can live in a rental, if they're related, things like that. So we'll see what happens with that, if that changes anything. It might help me with some other properties too, where I've run into that, where they're saying, oh, you can only have 2 units or 3 units here. That could greatly increase the value of my properties having that new law. I'm not in favor of a lot of laws, but once in a while, one comes along that might help people, help the market, help housing, and that actually might be one of them. All right, here's another property we refinanced, and I bought this property for around $600,000 a few years ago too. I did a 1031 exchange from the first rental property I bought into this property, and so I think I had quite a bit of cash I brought over in a private money loan of $430,000 on this property. Now, with private money loans, they're often short term. They have high interest rates from like 9 to 11%, and my plan is to refinance them and get them into lower rate loans. Now, with interest rates going up so high, my rate isn't much lower, but it does have the ability to go down in the future, which would be nice. And now I have a long-term loan. I was able to replace the private money lenders' financing, give them their money back, which means they can lend me more money on more projects in the future, which was also a big advantage of doing this refinance as well. So this property appraised for $950,000, which was also $100,000 more than the original appraisal. And so I was able to get a loan of $720,000 on this property, And the difference between that and my other loan is cash that I get back. So I was also able to take a lot of cash out on this refinance, which will help me invest in new projects, because a lot of these properties I spent a lot of cash on rehabbing, fixing up, especially the complex, which we'll talk about later. And so it's nice to get some of that cash back, because some of these properties I planned to sell too, and that didn't work out as well as I hoped either. So this one was very cool, seeing it all, the process complete. And maybe I'll do a full video just on this whole process with the 1031 exchange, refinancing, taking that money out as well, because I think that's a really cool strategy you can use, as long as they don't get rid of the 1031 exchange, which has been rumored, but I doubt it will ever happen. The next property we're going to talk about is one many of you know too, and that is the store, the liquor store and mini mart that I bought 2.5 years ago now. That's crazy. This was a property that I love because I always wanted a brick and mortar business. The liquor store has been doing awesome, and I paid $600,000 for this one, or $610,000, right in that same price range. And it came with everything: 3 apartments upstairs, the store. I paid a little bit extra for inventory, I think like $80,000. But what I did is I separated the store from the building. So I gave it its own corporation. It pays rent to the building. And so I refinanced the building, not the business, when we did this. And this appraisal came in crazy low. I could not believe it. It came in at $630,000, which is barely more than I bought it for. And we increased the rent significantly. It was nuts how some of these were valued. Well, we might have another video on that, like I said. But the new value was $800,000, which I still think is low based on the rents we receive and the value that those would show as far as income. But it was much better than $630,000. So I was able to get a loan for $610,000 on this, which paid off my $415,000 private loan and gave me quite a bit of cash back too. So again, we got quite a bit of cash back, which is great. And we did spend money on this one, fixing up the store, fixing up some of the apartments. But the store's been doing awesome. It's been making money. A little bit of drama here and there, but I'm thinking about maybe I need to buy more of these. We'll see. Having the extra cash and financing available now might make that more of a reality. Because to be honest, now I have quite a few private money lenders I use, but a couple of them are like, you kind of have us tapped out, Mark. We've got so much money invested in you. We need to get some of these refinanced so we can keep that money moving. And I was able to do that with this refinance, which was very, very nice. As far as the bank, we used First Tier Bank, which is a small bank, local bank here in northern Colorado. They have a couple branches throughout the Front Range. I think they have one in, was it Westminster? So they primarily lend on the Front Range in Colorado, and we're just amazing to work with. Like I said, very flexible, awesome for investors. They primarily focus on banking with investors, businesses. Joe Johnson is who I used. Really cool guy. He was actually connected to me through my title company, Elizabeth Elston at First American Title here in Greeley, who is the best title person in the world. I highly suggest you use her. So really cool to find them, because I've probably used 5 to 6 local banks to do refinances and purchase loans and different things over the years. And it's kind of like they start small, they're easy to work with, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they have more restrictions, they get harder to work with, and you kind of have to start finding new banks. So it pays to shop around, and this bank has just been fantastic. So it was really cool to find them, and should really help out my ability to buy more interesting projects to show on this channel. In fact, we've got an 8-plex that is very similar to the complex we'll be buying here soon, that we'll show you how all that looks. So that's the store. Got that refinance done. Oh, and a lot of people have been asking about this apartment that's upstairs. We cleaned it up, had some pretty marginal tenants in there, and I was thinking about trying to make it 2 units. We talked to our plumber, some other people, and we decided against it just because it's possible, but we kind of have to shut down the store for a while to go under the ceiling or under the floor in the ceiling of the store to change plumbing, move stuff around. And I decided that was not a good idea. But we are going to try and figure out how to put a washer and dryer in there too. So we'll work on that and then show a video of this property as well when we finally figure out exactly what we're doing there. This next property is a very interesting one and one I was really happy to get refinanced as well. This is the one where the county was on my case for a number of different reasons for illegally renting it to a church, and there's a site plan that's done in 2014 that we were supposed to finish all the work done on it, but the previous owner had kind of abandoned it. So we're kind of in a standstill right now. We've done some work here. We found the French drain, made sure the property's in decent shape. It all drains pretty well. Most of the property is rented to a diesel mechanic now. But the church moved out, so it's not illegally rented anymore. And they want me to complete this site plan and do all this work, but they want me to name who a specific tenant is in the church space. And this is before we fix it up. It does not look like this now. And I'm like, well, how can I do a site plan if I don't know who the tenant's going to be? And they're like, well, you can guess, or we can just wait to see who the tenant is. So we're in a waiting game. But that's beside the point. I paid $865,000 for this property 2 years ago. Spent a fair amount of money cleaning it up, fixing up some of the buildings, the land, etc. And this appraisal came in at 1.150 originally. But they had the square footage wrong. There's just a lot of funky stuff going on. After revisions, it came in at 1.4 million. So that was cool to see. That means I was able to get a loan over $1 million on this one. And my loan, my original private money loan, this was private money, this was a bigger deal, a bigger property. So my lender didn't want to do 100% financing. So I actually put $100,000 down when I bought this one. So my loan was $765,000. And so the new loan is $1,062,000. So that money's coming back. That's nice to see. It's nice to have long-term financing on this property. Replace that big loan too. And the other nice thing too, even though interest rates are high, and my rates now are 9%, which is high, but they could go down as rates go down, which is a really cool program they have with this bank. But I'm also paying off a little bit of the loan too. I mean, that's never been a priority for me, paying off my loans, but it is nice to see that. And I won't have a ton of cash flow in a lot of these properties because the rates are so high. But if rates drop, which I think they will at some point, my cash flow will increase significantly. In fact, just with these loans, if rates drop 0.5% or the Wall Street, I forget what it is, prime something or other, drops 0.5%, it'll save me about $20,000 a year in interest. So if rates dropped a few percent, that'd be awesome and amazing. That'd really be cash flowing quite a bit. But right now, it's more of an equity play. I've got lots of equity in these properties still. They'll pull lots of cash out. But it's not like they're bringing me tens of thousands of dollars a month in cash flow because the rates are high. But this property was nice to get refinanced because that was a rather large loan on it. And now it's in a more stable position. And then, of course, we still have to deal with the county and fix some of that stuff and figure that out along the way too. But I feel a lot better about it now. All right, so the next one is this little triplex we have and fixed up. So I paid $290,000 for this one a couple of years ago. Gosh, we probably spent $80,000, maybe more on the rehab. It was pretty rough when we bought it. Rented everything out again, and the original appraisal came in at $420,000 on this, which was incredibly low, just not good. But we were able to get it raised up to $550,000, so that helped a ton. Our new loan is $420,000, so we're able to pay off the private money loan at $290,000, plus the repairs. Maybe have a little bit left over on this one, not a ton. A lot of people too, I think, when they see my cars and different stuff, think I just have millions and millions of dollars of cash laying around. I don't. So a lot of these properties, especially the complex, take a lot of cash to rehab, to maintain, to hold while we're fixing them up, while rent's not coming in. So it takes a significant amount of investment. And even with these refinances and getting cash out and selling some properties, you have to manage your cash very, very well. It's very easy to come up short. have some lean months. So you need to make sure you have plans to replenish your cash reserves, whether it's refinances, selling properties, collecting cash flow, whatever it is, when doing projects like this. It is not simple and easy. And despite what, a couple people say, no, my dad did not buy these properties for me. He did not finance them. In fact, in 2013, when I took over the business from him, I bought out our real estate team. I bought out our flipping business. I agreed to pay my parents a certain amount of money per year so they could retire. So there was no way they could do that without me doing that, and I wanted more control, and it just worked out best for all parties by doing that. So I'm not saying I wouldn't take it or I wouldn't be happy with getting millions of dollars of trust fund money or whatever it is. I could definitely put it to use, but I did not get that. And I'm not saying it's bad when people do either. It's not like they have a control over who their parents are. So, but this is a decent property. It will probably cash flow a little bit now. And again, a lot of these properties too, if rates drop significantly, is going to raise their value significantly as well, because that increases the returns for investors. So getting the appraisal raised up on this one was good. It's all rented. Haven't had too many issues. We had some weird issues on one of the units I talk about on my members only channel, but I think we got those taken care of. And it's been a pretty fun little property. All right, coming to the most fun property, the complex. This is a 5-unit property in that small building, plus it had 2 houses on it. I paid $550,000 for this about 3 years ago, and it was rough. We'll show some of what it looked like beforehand. But we spent a good $200,000 to $300,000 fixing up this property, had a $550,000 private loan against it. We did try to sell it for a little bit, had some interested parties, but again, with high interest rates, it made it tricky, and it was making me money. So I'm like, well, I don't need to drop the price a bunch. Why do that? And then we were able to get it refinanced. So here's, some of what the property looked like when I first bought it. So this appraisal came in at $900,000 the first time around, which is not encouraging. So I'm like, wow, after all the money and time I spent on this, if this is worth $900,000, this is not a good deal for me at all. Well, we worked with them, revised it, got it raised up to $1.1 million. So again, this was a lot of work, a crazy property. Honestly, even at that value, just from a pure monetary and hours spent standpoint, I'm not sure how good of a deal it was. But from a drama and YouTube and social media standpoint, it's been a gold mine. So that part of it has been good. We were able to put a new loan of $832,000 on it, paid off the $550,000 private money loan. But like I said, with all our carrying costs and repair costs and everything, that pretty much just replenished that money we spent on it. We're not taking in a whole lot more, or we might even be taking in less than we actually spent on this one. But we still have a big chunk of equity in the property. And I think it will still make a little bit of money. We haven't actually checked all those numbers yet. I know I do things a little haphazardly sometimes. But again, getting that money back was nice. We can use that on different projects and new things. And that's always a lot of fun. So that's all 6 properties that we refinanced. There's a couple more that I still have private money on. They're much smaller properties, a duplex, a triplex. It has an illegal fourth unit that we never fixed up that we might be able to now with new state laws. And so I haven't decided if I want to sell those, keep those, refinance them. But it's really nice to have this bank and this resource now. I think that'll really be good for my business and make me feel better about buying bigger, different properties in the future. It replenished a lot of the money that my private lenders had paid me, which means it opens them up to do more projects as well. So that's good. And for a while there, we thought we might have to hire all new appraisers and redo all this, which we didn't have to do because I spent over $20,000 on these appraisals. So there are costs to doing these refinances as well. You've got to pay for the appraisals. There's bank fees, origination fees, different things that come into it. So while the loans are much higher than what I was paying than my previous loans, that's not all money coming back to me because there were some costs involved. I mean, still quite a bit of money coming back, but remember, when you're doing these, you'll have closing costs, origination fees, title fees, just like you would if you're buying a new property. It's pretty much the same costs. So, yesterday was a good day. We'll have some more in-depth videos, at least on the appraisals and how we worked on those. Maybe we'll do one on the 1031 exchange process too. And if there's any other more in-depth videos you want me to do kind of involving this or any other subject too, let me know. I like doing those and giving more insights and details on some of the things we are doing. All right, of course we'll have more videos on the laundromats, liquor store, other rentals, flips we're doing, all of that. And thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. And we'll be back again soon.